I think so. Thank you. Is this what we're using?
Yeah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is I haven't been out in a while, but is it raining still?
No.
No.
Not
It's
yet.
it's been a wet day here in Huntington. But I tell you what, it is soon to be Shabbat, so that's going to make it wonderful, right? Doesn't matter the weather, it is Shabbat. And so, first time in a while, I'm going to call actually both of them, Sam and James, to come on up and Ben Schlicht for us. They've been very, very busy at the university, so we're glad that they're here with us.
Glad to be here. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lights, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we, on our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedoshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, gentlemen. Now that we have Ben Schlicht, let's continue with Kabbalah Shabbat, welcoming Shabbat. We'll do so with song. We'll start page 20 and 21, Lecha Dodi, song that comes to us from the mystical city of Sfat in the Upper Galil in Israel. And if you've never been, you are missing one of the great cities in the world. It's not a modern city by any stretch of the imagination, but it's built on the side of a hill. And there's a huge cemetery at the bottom of the hill. And there are a lot of Mekubalim, a lot of Kabbalists there, a lot of Hasidic Rebbes are buried there. It's got the world's coldest mikvah there. They say that if you dunk yourself 100 times in it, not over a period of time, but you go in and you dunk yourself 100 times, that you guarantee yourself a spot in the world to come. But I think that's only because it is so cold that if you stay in there long enough to dunk yourself 100 times, you are going to go to the world to come. The water is cold, even by my standards. But Lecha Dodi comes to us from Tzfat. Tzfat is that beautiful mystical city in the Galil. About this time of day, towards sunset, the Mekubalim would dress themselves in their white finery, and they would go out into the hills, watch the sunset, and sing psalms and songs, waiting for the Shabbat bride. So page 20 at the top, Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, Ishmi'ahanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem ol tiferet v'litila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Ki mekor ha'bracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh v'machshava tefila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzei mitochachecha, Rav shevet v'mechavacha, V'hu yachomol alaychem la, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nikabela, Itnari me'afar kumi, Lifshi bigdei tifatehami, Al yad benishai beit halachmi, Korba el nafshi gehala, Lecha dudi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Hitorari, Kiva urech kumihi uri, shir daberi, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Lo tevoshi v'lo tikomi, Makish tochachi u'mahatemi, Bach yechesu anieh ami, V'nihivneta ir altila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, V'hayu l'shimsa shohosayich, V'rachaku oko mevalayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich, Ki himsos chatan al kala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, Yet Adonai taharitzi, Al yadish ben partzi, V'nihi smecha v'nagila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'sola, Tochem hunei am segula, Bo'i chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Starting at page 22, we'll find some verses from Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Let's read the English paragraph, the outdented paragraph at the bottom, and then we'll go up to the Hebrew for Tzadik Katamar. A song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadik katamar yifrach, Keres Alvanon Yiskeh Shetuli Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Ohodjedu Beseva Deshemin Bera'ananim Yihiyu Lehagi Ki Ashar Adonai Zuri Velo Avlatabo. And we'll close out Kabbalah Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashari, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim. Kadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mihi melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mihi melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mihi melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's turn to page 146 for the beginning of the Arvit service, the Arvit service Shabbat, page 146, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 147, let's read these lines together in English. Page 147. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish. But your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you, and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, V'shofeinu u'vkumeinu, Nasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'v'mitzvotecha, Le'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu, V'yorech yameinu, V'yorech yameinu. Lahem negeh yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavat techal tasyomim le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levacha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha. V'hayu advarim ha'eleh, Asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al vavecha, Vishinantam levanecha, V'dibartapam, V'shitecha b'veitecha, Uvlechtecha v'derech, Uv'shoktecha uv'kumecha, Ukshartam le'ot al yadecha, Ve'hayu l'totafot beineinecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Page 151, let's read responsibly in the English. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp, and imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
It is evil enough to break the heart, and it is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
We bring everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Top of 152. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot, osef eleh, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, Zeli anu v'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar kifad Adonai Yaakov, u'ga'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Top of 153. The second blessing after the Shema, Hashkivenu. First two lines we'll sing together, and then we'll read together, not responsibly, just read together the English at the bottom of the page. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forward. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, al-porei sukkot shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Top of page 154, verses from the book of Shemot, verses from the book of Exodus, reminding us of the importance of Shabbat and our relationship to it. Vishamru, top of page 154. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית העולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים V'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We are at the central prayer for our evening service, the Amidah, known as the Amidah, the standing prayer, the Tefillah, the prayer, HaTefillah, or the Shemona Esrei during the week, the 18 benedictions. But tonight, it's just the Shabbat benedictions, it's the Shabbat insertion. So we're going to begin together on 155, chant 155, 156, 157 together. And then we'll go silent. You can finish the prayer, the Amidah, on your own, concluding on 167. And you can complete it in Hebrew. You could read the English translation, or you can offer up your own meditative prayer during that time. Adonai sifatai tiftach u'yagi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach u'yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, V'mehi Goel Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim atarav lahoshia, Mashiva ruach u'morid hakol, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye metim berachamim rabim, Somet noflim v'rofei oholim, U'matir asurim, U'mechaye emunato l'shenei afar, michamocha ba'al giburo, u'midome lach, melech mehi u'mechaye, u'matzliach Yeshua, u'ne'eman ata l'chayot metim. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye ha'metim. So completing your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We're going to come together on page 160, and we're going to read together in the middle of the page. In these hours of rest, we will open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill his promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. A little bit of hoda'ah, a little bit of gratitude on 163. I'm grateful that I don't live at the bottom of a hill today. I've lived on a mountain my entire growing up, and so never knew much about flooding, but people who live down from me, Marilyn walked on water to get here. But I am so sorry for that. It's horrible out there in some spots. And I just hope everybody's safe, but it's raining. So I'm grateful that everybody who's here is here, and grateful that everybody, I hope, is safe if you're not here. So
I'm grateful the water stopped.
the water stopped.
I went down.
Yeah. They're a couple of weeks late for the crossing of the Sea of Reeds.
I know.
But a lot of rain, a lot of flooding here. So, but we're grateful that it's Shabbat and that we're here. That's number one. So page 163 at the top, let's read responsively. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
And let's turn to 164 and we'll close out, as we close out every Amidah, with a prayer for peace. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adom, lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adom, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Letov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamiborech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Page 253, let's turn to the Misha Berach. If you have anyone who needs a little extra healing or a little extra a little extra compassion this Shabbat, keep them close to your thoughts and in your heart as we get ready for the Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mechor HaBracha La'imotenu May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishebeirach imotenu mikor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We're going to turn now to pages 258 and 259 in the prayers for our community. Marilyn, would you read for our congregation, please?
Our congregation, source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, the support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levacha b'yirah na'avod. Brenda, would you read the prayer for our country?
Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own camp. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness.
Thank you. Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim, Yishlayu, Ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Zur Yisrael V'Golo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smicha Geulatenu. Again Aleha B'Yavrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Oracha V'Amitecha, L'Rasheha Soreha V'Yoetzeha, V'Takneim Be'etzah Tova Milfanecha, V'Natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'Simchat Olam V'Yoshneha, V'Nomar Amen. Suzanne, would you read the English, please?
O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there.
Amen. Thank you, everyone who read. Shabbat shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos.
Shalom.
All right, this week we continue with the Holiness Code. Last week we started it, and we continue with it. And this week's Torah portion is, of course, Kidoshim. And it starts off with, there's no real good reason for us to be holy, other than it says, Kidoshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall be holy because I, the Lord, your God, am holy. And this is one of the richest of our parshiot. There are so many wonderful, wonderful mitzvot, so many commands in here on how to behave. But the first thing we have to realize is that in Judaism, in our tradition, to be holy doesn't mean that you are filled with this sense of godliness, that you can't, if something is holy that you can't touch it. It's much more mundane than that. The word kadosh, which means holy, comes from the root kuf daled shin, and it just means set aside, put aside, special in the sense that you can't use it for anything that you want to use it for, but only for particular things, right? It's not ordinary. So the example I give is that you live in Sfat, right? And Sfat is not adjacent to Jerusalem. It's a bit of a schlep. A lot of it's downhill. But you have this bull that you want to offer and you want to take to the temple and sacrifice it. And so you say, that bull right there, that one, that really good looking bull, that is now hekdesh. That is a holy bull because I'm setting it aside for sacrifice. Now you can't use that bull for anything else. If somebody comes up to you and says, I'll give you 1,000,000 shkalim for that bull, you can't, because you've dedicated it already. It's set aside. If you decide to sell the bull for the 1,000,000 shkalim, you now have to take that 1,000,000 shkalim to Jerusalem and spend it there, give it to the temple, right? So that's what it means to be hekdesh. And so we are set aside. We are not ordinary. And the mitzvot that are given in this chapter, they cut across all categories of life. There are ritual mitzvot. There are business ethics, right? Don't have scales that have faulty weights and measures. Again, we get the care for the poor, care for the widow, care for and I'm going to stop using the word stranger, because that's not what it means. In a way, it does mean stranger, but actually it means immigrant. All right, so the context of the Torah, it's not the stranger, because really everybody is strange. I mean, compared to me, everybody is strange. But it's an immigrant. It's somebody who is not part of your group and comes to be part of your group. All right, so it's an immigrant, not necessarily just a stranger. And again, we have some more about family relations and relationships. But there's an interesting distinction, or not an interesting distinction in our Torah, because there is no distinction between the religious and the secular. And what I mean by that is they're right next to one another. Many, many codes of law in the ancient Middle East had a set of laws for ritual and another set of laws on the other side for the secular matters, interpersonal relationships. In the Torah, they are next to one another. And Martin Buber, one of the great philosophers of the 20th century, felt that it's not the holy versus the profane, the secular versus the profane. In our tradition, he says there's the holy and the not yet holy, right? So he kind of gives it a nice spin. And then we get echoes of the revelation at Mount Sinai, right? Honor our parents, observe Shabbat, don't worship idols, offer the korbanot, offer the sacrifices in an acceptable manner, leave the corners of our fields and parts of our vineyards for the poor. Right? A lot of that we heard at Mount Sinai in the Aseret HaDibrot. Then we get the don't steal, don't defraud others, don't swear falsely in God's name, don't hate others, don't seek revenge, don't bear a grudge. And then perhaps one of the most famous lines of the Torah, V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha ani Adonai. Love your neighbor as yourself. I am God. And that's where we are. Rabbi Akiva says that's a basic principle of the Torah, right? To love your neighbor and to love yourself. Because that's the flip side, right? It's not just love your neighbor. That would be, I don't know, impossible. No, I'm joking. That would be very difficult, or that might be easy, but it's love your neighbor as you love yourself. In other words, you have to love yourself. You have to realize that you're worthy of respect. You are worthy to be treated in a kind way, and then you will take that and do it to others. And then there's no magic or soothsaying, no tattoos, no eating of blood. You've got to honor the aged. You love the stranger, see, love the immigrant. Why? Because God says, because you were immigrants once. You were in the land of Egypt. You immigrated to Egypt and they treated you poorly. Don't you dare treat other people like that. I am your God. For those of you who are keeping count of the mitzvot at home, 13 positive mitzvot, 13 things we're commanded to do, 38 things we're not commanded or we shouldn't do, total of 51 mitzvot in this particular parsha, one of the top heavy ones on mitzvot. And so that is your Torah portion in a nutshell. So last week, I was busy ranting about book bannings. Was suggesting going national with my campaign to ban the Bible, because if you're going to ban any books, you got to ban the Bible, because all the stuff that they're afraid of, that they don't want other people to read, it's in the first 5 chapters of Genesis. So, or maybe we just ban the first 5 chapters of Genesis. Then we would get the Noah story. Yeah, no. But then this week I got hit again with our country, coming apart at the seams with this now infamous leaked document from the Supreme Court. And I got to be honest with you, as a rabbi, I have had some pretty difficult discussions with people. I have talked to people when they were thinking of committing suicide. I have talked to people after they have attempted to commit suicide. I've talked to people before they go to a doctor for a diagnosis that they fear, and I've talked to people after they've gotten a diagnosis that they didn't want. But the most difficult conversations I have ever had are those in which the termination of a pregnancy is the topic. Those are the most difficult conversations to have, because what does one say? One listens. One tries to understand. And I can only speak from my experience, but the decisions that these people were called to make, or felt that they had to make, or needed to make, were heartbreaking. And they were not made lightly. There seems to be some idea in the world that if abortions remain legal, then everybody will have 1, or 2, or 3, or 4. They'll become, but that's not the case. We know that's not the case. But the pundits need to push something upon us. And people are often amazed. It happened to me twice this week already. People found out I was a rabbi and said, "But Rabbi, doesn't Judaism prohibit killing?" No. "Oh, it says right there in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill." No, it doesn't. "But it does, Rabbi. Right here, it says in the King James Version." Somebody had a Bible, pointed it to me. Right? King James, thou shalt not kill. I didn't have my Tanakh with me. I had my phone with me. I whip up my Hebrew version, and I point. It says, doesn't say thou shalt not kill. It says don't murder. Big difference. I said, but if you're talking about abortion, I gotta tell you, Judaism permits it. Silence. No, they said, "Rabbi, I can't." "No, it has to. It says no. You don't kill." I'm saying, "No, it says you don't murder." "Well, that's murder." I said, "What's murder?" "Abortion." I said, "No, it's not." "Well, Rabbi, you're killing a child." "No, we're not." "Well, Rabbi, don't you believe that at the moment of conception, a child is the same as a human being?" "No, I don't." "Does your congregation know that?" "Pretty sure, yeah. Considering I taught a 2-week class on abortion this summer or this fall, I can't remember when, but yeah, they know. And if they don't know, all they have to do is ask." "Rabbi, you're sure Judaism doesn't forbid abortion?" I'm saying, "No, it doesn't. Not at all. Not even a little bit. It's not a sin. It's not listed as one of the great things that we shouldn't do. And it's not allowed because of some loophole, right? Lots of things are allowed because of loopholes, but this particular thing, no, because it's found in the Torah." Abortion's mentioned in the Torah? Not abortion per se, but the concept is. And here's the story. 2 guys are fighting. They're tussling. This is the book of Exodus, Parashat Mishpatim. 2 guys are tussling and they bump into a pregnant woman, causing her to miscarry. When the dust settles and everybody is in their respective corners, and the judges are trying to figure out what's what. They look at the woman, and if she is not harmed, meaning she doesn't have a bloody nose or a broken hand or anything, she just miscarried, there's no problem. Guy has to pay for the woman's medical expenses or whatever, but the guy is not on the hook for the death of the fetus. That's interesting. I said, it is, because the fetus isn't a person. The fetus is not a living thing. It's kind of alive, but it's kind of alive the same way your liver is alive or your arm is alive. It's part of the woman, but it's not separate from the woman in a sense as if it were its own entity. And so if that woman's caused to miscarry and there's no punishment for that, meaning there's no price that you have to pay, there's certainly no murder charge, right? If the woman is fine, then everybody goes on their own business. If the woman happens to die because of that, now we have a problem. Or if the woman suffers a broken arm, leg, whatever, now we have a problem because now we've got something. But if the only thing is the miscarriage, there's no penalty for that. And that's how the rabbis get to the idea that aborting a pregnancy to save the life of a mother is okay. There's no problem. I know that's tough for a lot of people to get their head around, because all we hear, the arguments about abortion are all about, well, when does life begin? In Judaism, when the crown of the baby's head is seen coming out of its mother, that's the moment life begins. Up until that point, if the health of the mother is in question at all, and the rabbis are fairly certain about what they say, the health of the mother, not just the physical health of the mother, but the psychological health of the mother as well. Rabbis don't like telling women who are raped and become pregnant that they have to carry the baby to term because, in fact, it is a human being. Rabbis don't want that either. And they don't want the mother to die. Simply because if a mother is having one child, she probably has other children. And to not care about the mother's health, the rabbis find that problematic, because if you let the mother die to save the child, who's going to take care of the child? It sounds cut and dry, but there's more nuance to it. The idea of a fetus is very, very clearly spelled out by the rabbis. It is not a human being. It is classified as a rodef. And a rodef in the Torah is someone who is coming after you. It's a pursuer. And it's not just somebody who's chasing after you to give you a hug. It's someone who's coming after you to do damage. And in order to save yourself, you're allowed to kill the rodef. And so if the mother's health is in danger, the fetus goes. The mother lives. And that's how it's been in Judaism for a very, very, very long time. Because we're not the same as the Christians. We're not the same as the Muslims. We have different views, and we are entitled to those views. Now, Judaism does not say abortion on demand, right? I've never had somebody come in and say, Rabbi, I'm pregnant. I don't know if I want to be pregnant. I'm going to have an abortion. It's never, I'm sure people are like that, but I've never had that. And so here's the thing. In light of what Judaism says about abortion, and it comes down into the code of Jewish law, that they say, Lafikach ha'uberet, right? Therefore, if the woman who is giving birth, shehi mikasher leileit, and she's having difficulty giving birth, it's a difficult pregnancy, mutar laktoh, it is permitted to kill it. It's permitted to kill the ubar, the fetus, in her womb, vein basam, vein biad, either through a physical procedure or through basam, either through herbs. drugs in the minds of the rabbis. Mipnei shehu kirodef, because it is like a pursuer, achareha leharga, to kill her. Ve'im hotzi rosho, but if his head comes out, ein nog'im bo, you're not allowed to do damage to it. She'ein dochim nefesh mipnei nefesh. You don't put one life in front of another, meaning that if you don't choose between one or the other. You have to fight for them both. And the rabbis will even say, even at this time, if the mother dies, you cannot abort the fetus. Right? So the moment of birth is when the head is coming out of the mother. And then at that point. So it's very different than what we hear in the news about these abortion laws. Our tradition has held this for a very, very, very long time. It's not cut and dry, but it's there. It's not birth control, uses birth control. It's there for a very specific reason, the rabbis say. The health and well-being of the woman. That we can't forget. That is paramount. The health and well-being of the woman. And I got to tell you something. I'm not a woman. I've never had an abortion. So I feel tremendously unqualified to have an opinion other than what a woman does with her body. It's her business. Not mine, not the Supreme Court's, not any male representative, senator, president, not even any other female representative, senator, perhaps president. It's to the individual woman. And we live in a country that takes rights seriously. So here's the thing. If your religion doesn't permit abortion, fine. I'm not saying that your religion has to support or permit abortion. Judaism does permit it. And to be pro-choice doesn't necessarily mean you have to be pro-abortion. See, the choice is the woman's choice, not my choice. My grandfather was adopted, right? So when I talk to people who are considering abortion, not because of any other reason other than perhaps they can't, whatever. Maybe you can have an adoption. Hate to think what would happen if my grandfather's mother decided that instead of putting him up for adoption, that she didn't want him around at all. Somebody very different would be having this conversation with you. But here's the thing. It's not my choice. It's none of my business. I sat with a young woman once who had an abortion. And she came in and she led with that. Rabbi, I've had an abortion. And we sat there for a little while. I didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. And she said, did you hear me? I said, mm-hmm. She said, I had an abortion. I said, yes, you've said that twice now. She said, well, don't you have anything to say? I said, no. She said, don't you want to know why? I said, it's none of my business. And she started to cry. Because I was the first person she spoke to that after she said I had an abortion, I didn't say why. None of my business. Lots of things aren't my business. This is one that is writ large in my world, that it's none of our business. It needs to be a right. We need to make sure that a woman has autonomy over her body, that the government doesn't tell her what she can and cannot do with it. And I'll end with what I always say to people about this. And it's kind of glib, but it brings my attitude home. You don't want to have it. You don't like abortion. Don't have one. You don't like gay marriage. Don't marry a gay guy. That's it. You don't have to do either of those, but neither can you stop others if they want or need an abortion or they want to marry a gay guy. We need to tell our Congress people. We need to tell our government. We need to make sure the Supreme Court knows. They don't legislate personal autonomy. Shabbat shalom, good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
Sam, after that tirade,
Kiddush.
It's Kiddush time. Once in a while, the rabbis, it's written into our ordination certificates that we get to rent every once in a while. All right, page, well, it doesn't matter what page, I'm on a different page. Kiddush. Vahi boker yom hashishi. Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam. Vayachal Elohim vayom hashvi melachto asher asa. Vayishbot vayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto kivo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Sabri, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Yehu yom tefila lamikrae kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava u'ratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. All right. You know, there is a tradition when the rabbi says Sabri at the beginning of Kiddush, you all should yell L'chaim, because there was a time where people tried to poison rabbis, and that they would say L'chaim as a way of keeping that away. The fact that you don't do that here, but say L'chaim right before you're to drink it, does not make me feel very welcome or at home. Because I don't know of any rabbi trying to poison the congregants, but there were congregants who did try to poison their rabbis.
Did you enjoy your drink just a few minutes ago?
I poured it,
Oh, okay.
and it was from a bottle that I opened. So that's why you think I'm going to let you, David, you think I'm going to let you pour my Kiddush?
Oh, wait.
No. All right, page 282, Leinu. Aleinu l'shapeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'atzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol ha'monam, anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נותן שמיים ויוצר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמו ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים Eloheinu Ehenod, Emes Malkeinu Efesu Lasso, Kakashu V'Torato, V'Adat HaYom V'Hashivota, Elevavecha. Ki Adonai hu Elohim, Vashamayim imaho, V'al haaretz, V'itachat eino. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. This week we observed the following yahrzeits: Dr. Meir S. Galpin, husband of Selma, father of Betty Kolker and her sisters; Rachel Schiff, Mary Cantor's mother, Rena's grandmother; Tessie Gersman Steinberg, Saley Hayflick and Jack Steinberg's mother; Judge Harold Tompkins, Pauline's cousin, Francis Fish's husband; Abe B. Hyman, Jack's father; Mitchell Van Deerlask, relative of Alan Siegel; Robert Cantor, Gail's husband, Rena Stern's brother; Sam Harvitz, Ida Strauss's relative; Sharon Simons, wife of Bob, daughter of Saul Kaplan and Harriet, mother of Spencer, Vicky, and Gwen; Israel Herbert, Harold's brother, and Harold was Maury Hartz's uncle; Sam Hyman, Jack's cousin; Ida Lerner, Ike's sister-in-law; Harry Paul Schenker, Ella Ritter's father, married to Sarah; Anna Canner Hartz, Maury's great-aunt; Daisy Macinter Gross, wife of IT and mother of Roger, Stephen, and Marvin; Evelyn Imogene Morris Smith, mother of James Morris Smith; Frances Schoenfeld Stein, wife of Ike, mother of Tori and Jane. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 294. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma, Divrach, Hirutei, V'yamlik, Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, U'chayeh, V'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'zman, Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, V'orach, V'lam, Omeh, Omaya. Yisbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yishtar, V'yitroman, V'yitnaseh. V'yishadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei V'kusha, B'richud. Le'am, Yinkol, V'yachata, V'shirata. Tushkachata, V'nechamata, Damiram, V'yalma, V'yimru, Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba, V'yishamaya. V'chaim Aleinu, V'yalkol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Yirma, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Alkol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. A couple of quick announcements before we get to Adon Olam. Services tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Sunday morning at 9 a.m., and they are just plain services. No Hallel, nothing, just regular services. So that is Sunday. Tomorrow and Sunday, Monday night at 7:30, our deep dive into Genesis continues. And then Wednesday night, the best little Yiddish choir from coast to coast, the choir with the most. Come get your Yiddish on, and they're preparing songs for Shavuot. Shavuot, which is, speaking of Shavuot, we've got to count the Omer. I forgot about the Omer. I didn't forget about the Omer. It's just not in the fore of my mind right now. The Omer is the period between the second day of Passover and Shavuot. And so we count off 49 days. And You know what? I will find it in this season. But they're working on Shavuot. I don't think there are meetings this week. David, Sam, do we have any meetings?
The following Sunday.
Yeah, that's following Sunday. That's too far in advance.
9 days.
It's not. A week from Sunday is the congregational meeting. And you shall be getting or should be getting notification for that in the mail within the next day or so. But that's the big congregational meeting. So come on out. It's in person, and come out, see what's going on at the shul, see what we've been doing since the last meeting, and come and see your friends. David will be here, won't you, David?
I will sure do my best.
David's going to be here. We're planning on it. And there we are, 3:05 for me. Okay, so before I forget, let me count the Omer. And yesterday was the 20th day of the Omer. So Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom echad ve'esrim yom shehem shlosha shavuot la'omer. Today is the 21st day of the counting of the Omer, making exactly 3 weeks of the Omer. And then we'll be back next Friday. So not a lot going on this week. I think the raffle was a success. Very much a success. I know that there were lots of people here, had a good time meeting a lot of people. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. And so, if you didn't come this year, you put it on your calendar for next year. All right, so let us close out on 321. We'll close out this evening's service with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefzod kol azai melech shemo nivra v'yacharei tiklot hakol levado imloch nahora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי לצור חבלי ביהי צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא ביהדו Afkid ruhi, ve'eti shan ve'ahira, ve'im ruhi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo hira. Shalom. Let's see. Well, we're not done yet. We got people on the interwebs who said hello to us.
Thank you.
So there's Kathleen Ayers' mom. Shabbat shalom to all from Rabbi's mom and Cliff. All right, thanks, Mom and Cliff. Hope all have a nice weekend and try to stay dry. We will. Jenny Bro, Shabbat Shalom on a rainy night. Yes, Jenny, thank you. Shabbat Shalom to you. Stay dry and safe. We're working on it, and you as well. And Melanie Samuels, this is from the holy city of Brooklyn. Yes, good Shabbos. All is raining in Brooklyn, too. Now, sometimes a little rain has to fall. Have a wonderful, if wet, weekend and keep dry and safe and happy. Thank you, Melanie. Same to you. And everyone out there, have a wonderful and peaceful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Be careful out there, and we'll see you soon.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.